Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, everybody. Thursday, almost Friday. For me, at least here in Ireland, it's already Friday, because 7:15 p.m. here, so it's already Friday. Happy days, warm weather, sunny outside. So good to have you all here with us. And today, as we mentioned last week and last Tuesday, we have a special guest. I think it's the third or the fourth time Roberto joined us here.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for the State of São Paulo Spiritist Federation, and Roberto Watanabe is his president, to be here with us. And today he will talk about one of the most beautiful books, I think, from Leon, in my opinion, at least from Leon Denis, Into the Unseen. For those who saw our program yesterday, I like the definition Leon Denis gives to mediumship on chapter 5. That mediumship is a flower that is blossom, and we need to take care very carefully. So it's very beautiful that. So anyway, thank you very much, our friends from Ireland, UK, Sweden, Portugal, Brazil, and United States. So it's a pleasure to have you all here with us today. And before we start, we give the opportunity to Roberto. I want to do the initial prayer.
Thank you, Stevan. I'm glad to be here again.
Yeah, and Roberto, let's say welcome. So I can see here there are some people from the Federation saying hi, Roberto. So yeah. So,
thanks for our colleagues.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do the initial prayer?
Well,
or I do the final.
You do the final. Let me do the definition.
Okay.
So let's ask you to everyone, sit comfortably. If you can, if you want to, close your eyes, but open up your heart, your mind, and let's make connection with superior spirits, with our mentors of Kardec Radio, São Paulo State Spiritist Federation, Irish Spiritist Federation. Ask them to enlighten ourselves, extending these vibrations to brothers and sisters who are sick in the hospitals, who are suffering from anxiety, loneliness, thinking about suicide. May these good vibrations reach them and allow them to make connection with their mentors, in order to allow them to change the mindset and get out of this current situation. May the good spirits look after Roberto, may inspire him, may Leon Denis will guide him in order to give the wonderful message we have in the book Into the Unseen. So be it. Amen. Okay, my dear friend, if you don't mind, I did just brief introduction, like just saying you are president of the São Paulo State Spiritist Federation, but You can add a little bit more color, like how many years you are in the Spiritist movement, and how you end up as a president of the one of the most important federations we have in Brazil.
Well, thank you, Stevan. Well, I have about 30 years of Spiritism. I started by 1920 and did all the courses at FEESP. We call FEESP the São Paulo Spiritist Federation.
Yeah.
And then I gave classes there on many courses that we have. And then 3 years ago, we participated in the elections that we have every 3 years. This year we have elections at the end of the year, and where we have the new directors and the new management of the at FESP. Then 3 years ago was then when I became the president, and until now. So now it's about little bit more than 2.5 years of presiding our institution, and glad to be here to talk about Spiritism to our colleagues from Europe.
Good. Not just Europe, my friend. We are reaching out a lot of countries here, especially the US and Philippines. I have seen, just because of the time, they don't see us live, but tomorrow we can see their comments here.
Okay.
So let's give the word to you, my friend.
Okay.
So I will be on the backstage. So if you need me, just call me. I'll be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. I thank you. Let me just share here the presentation.
Yeah, you shared the presentation. Yeah.
Is it okay, Stevan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
So, yeah, it's okay, right? So today we are going to talk about this book of Leon Denis, Into the Unseen. We are going to talk about the first part of the book today, and then next month we're gonna see the second part, because the book's too long. So one presentation is not enough to cover all the book. So Leon Denis is, as everybody knows, this year we are studying his books, very interesting books. He was he wrote most of his books by the end of 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, and his books has a kind of a parallel with the books written by Allan Kardec, who was the Spiritism codifier. Allan Kardec has a book called the Book of Mediums. And this book of Leon Denis, Into the Unseen, is the subject is the same as the Book of Medium. So it's about mediumship in general. So we are going to talk here about mediumship, about the spiritist phenomena and physical phenomena, intellectual phenomena. So these kind of issues that we are going to talk today and then next month too. Today we are going to see the introduction, the general overview of the mediumship issue. And then next month we are going to see in more detail the phenomena itself, the physical phenomena and intellectual phenomena. So Denis begins this book saying that as we humans move along the path of knowledge, new perspectives open up before us. So as science going forward, it's discover new laws. It discover something new about the universe. and about ourselves. But then Denis is saying there in the 19th century, he is saying that our science is limited. Actually, it's still limited today, despite all the advances that we have since then. And then he said that the science is limited because the nature is boundless, right? So science studies the laws of motion, force, and life. Motion, force is studied by physics, life is studied by biology, for example, right? And between the two, physics and biology, we have chemistry. So, but Denis said, science does not know anything about the active causes of these laws, right? For example, if we think about electricity, science says that an electric current has his cause is a difference of a potential. So, but then, and what is the origin or the cause for this difference of a potential? We don't know exactly, right? We say in Spiritist, we say, and we can see in the book of Genesis written by Allan Kardec, that like all the forces of the universe, like electricity, magnetism, and they are related to the universal fluid. We are going to talk about this next month, right? But science itself has not discovered this. Still has not discovered. So as science doesn't know in some cases what is the active causes, it imagines some causes, and that happens with ourselves, the human being, right? So Denis says that this has happened to the representatives of the materialist schools of thought. Science in 19th century was essentially materialist, so they did not accept the idea of a spiritual world or spirit souls, things like that, right? So for them, the human soul was an outcome of the physical organism. So that was their concept, because they had only a materialist view of nature, right? That changed a little bit since then, but it's still science today still is more concentrated on the material dimension of our nature, right? So what Denis said is that the human soul is not an outcome of the physical organism. It's quite the opposite, right? Because the human soul is a cause of our human body, our physical body, and this cause, which is the soul, pre-exists in our physical body and survive our body. So it's quite the opposite, right? So it's like the physical organism that is the outcome of the human soul, in the sense that the human soul that commands the formation of our body. So that's what Denis is saying here. And that changes completely the view about nature, right? And then Denis says that the soul, which are ourselves, is provided with a fluidic form from which it is inseparable. And what he's saying here is that we, for example, let's see here an image here. We have here the spirit that which is represented by here by a kind of a flame, because there's nothing material actually, and the spirit here is the same as the soul. So let's say here we have the soul, and then at the right side we have our physical body, right? And between how the soul can act through the physical body, we must have an intermediary body, which is this fluidic form, which is in the middle, right? So in Spiritism we call it perispirit. Peri, because peri is from a Greek word. Peri means around. so around the spirit. So, and it means that the perispirit is around the soul or the spirit. And in this a kind of a fluidic body, is not material as our, is not as material as our physical body is, right? So it's more fluidic. And that's what Denis is saying here. And what he says is that through this fluidic form, the soul can disengage from the physical body and then perceive the realities of the unseen world. Why he's saying here, he's saying that here, is because, for example, here, we are incarnate beings, right? Human beings. Then we, in us, the three parts are joined together. So the spirit is here in us. We have the perispirit, which is the intermediate body, fluidic, and then we have our physical body. It's all here. When we are here incarnating in this physical body, we just can see, for example, by our physical eyes. We can hear by our physical ears. We cannot have we don't have any access to the spiritual realm, right? But then, Denis said, in some situations, we can disengage detach from our physical body. And then when we detach from our physical body, we remain only, we as soul, connected with our fluidic form or perispirit. We never detach ourselves from our perispirit. That's important to have in mind, right? So when we are detached from the physical body and we are only surrounded by our perispirit, then we get access to the spiritual realm. Why? Because the spiritual realm is also is based on these fluids that's the same fluids as the perispirit is made of, right? So, for example, when we die, what happens when we die? There is a cut here between the physical body and the perispirit. So, a person when he dies, he disconnected totally from the physical body, and then the soul remain only with the perispirit. So when we talk about a discarnate person, is the soul surrounded by his perispirit. So when we are incarnated and we can detach from our physical body, then we can see, we can communicate with the discarnate people. So that is the basic concept here that explain all the spiritist phenomena that we are going to see, right? So this is very important to understand. And then, and so that's what Denis is saying here, that sometimes the soul in its fluidic form makes itself visible at a distance. It means that, for example, people sometimes have some experience that, for example, let's say a distant friend is dying in another country, for example, and then the person has a kind of a vision. He sees his friend at the moment that the friend is dying there in another country. So what he's saying? He's saying the soul surrounded by the perispirit from that person that came here to see his friend. Because when we are detached from our physical body, we in our perispirit, we can go anyway. Distance is not a problem. So that's why that's how we can explain such kind of a phenomena, right? So this is something important to know, and that is what Denis is saying. And then, so Denis says, we humans, incarnate, right? We participate in two modes of being. With our physical body, we belong to the seen world, the world that we can see, we can touch, right? We can smell, and we can hear. But with our fluidic body or our perispirit, we belong to the unseen world also, or to the spiritual realm, the spiritual dimension, So that he's saying here. And the two bodies, as I told already, coexist in us. In us, for example, we have here the physical body and the fluidic body, the perispirit and the physical body. And death is their separation. So we only separate from our physical body when we die. And then we remain, the soul, only surrounded by the perispirit, as I said, right? So that's what he's saying here. And from the study of these phenomena, then we Kardec developed the Spiritist science. So, and what Denis is saying, that the spiritualist science or the Spiritist science is not a work of imagination. It's not something that we fantasize, right? But it's a result of a long and patient research, because Kardec, for example, he observed the communications of thousands of spirits, and from that observations, he developed the Spiritism, right? So, and then in the Spiritist science is the observation, the experiments is a little bit different from the physical sciences, because when we are dealing with the physical science, we are dealing with matter. So we can, if we do some experiments, say scientific experiments, we can repeat it at our will. But when we are talking about the observation of a spiritist phenomenon, we have a different situation, because here we are not dealing with matter. We are dealing with living beings, although discarnate, they are living, right? So, and these beings, they have their free will, so they are not at our disposal. So that's what Denis is saying here, that in many cases, the spiritist phenomenon occurs spontaneously. So when we are not expecting anything, the phenomena happens, right? And then when we want the phenomena to occur, it doesn't happen, because it doesn't depend on our will, but on the will of the spirit. So that is an important difference that Denis is pointing here, right? So then he says that Spiritism then become a new science, right? Because we say that Spiritism is a philosophy in science, right? In Europe, you know that you Spiritists say that Spiritism is philosophy, science, and moral. Right? In Brazil, we have a little bit different view. We say Spiritist is science, philosophy, science, and religion. But it doesn't matter. We are talking here about science, right? So Spiritism become a new science, which completes the other sciences, because it goes, although we have it today, for example, comparing to the 19th century, we have well developed today psychology, psychiatry, all these sciences of the mind, and Spiritist goes adds something new to all this knowledge, right? It goes deeper in our essence. So that's what Denis is saying here, that is psychical science should be the supreme science, because the psychical science means the study of ourselves. It means to know ourselves, and at the same time, it helps us in our ascent toward the eternal and divine soul, which is God, right? So that's what Denis is saying here about the Spiritist science. Then let's talk a little bit now about the perispirit, or the fluidic body, right? The perispirit is the transmitter of our impressions, sensations, and memories. So what Denis is saying here is that the perispirit, for example, if we have the sensation, right? I touch some objects. So that touching, the sensation comes from my hand, for example, to my mind, and I perceive that action. It comes through the perispirit, So that's what Denis is saying here. So this perispirit is also the intermediary of our sensation. The soul can only perceive something because of the perispirit, which brings from the physical body the sensation that the body has. So and the opposite is also is true. For example, if I have the intention to grab something, this intention in my mind is transmitted to my body through the perispirit. That's what Denis is saying here, right? And also the perispirit is the body that ensures our identity, the continuity of our conscience, because our physical body is renewing every time, right? We know now by science that there is a continual cell renewal in our body. The trillions of cells that compose our body is renewing at any time. So it means that after 7 years, we should be a different person if we depended only on our physical body. But we don't, because it's not the physical body that defines our identity. Identity, I mean, in the sense of the continuity of our consciousness. It is our perispirit. So that's what Denis is saying here. And this perispirit, Denis says, is a center of powers and forces. So what he's doing here is going into the direction of the spiritist phenomena, because the perispirit is the center of these forces, and such forces is the basis of the spiritist phenomenon. For example, he says that the magnetic force, which is related to our perispirit, through that magnetic force we can relieve or cure someone who is ill. So this magnetic force is one of the properties of the perispirit, right? So this explains the magnetizers, for example, or the healers, the men and women that are healers. So they are using this force, which is strongly related to the perispirit. And also, Denis said that the psychical force indispensable to produce a spiritual phenomena, here we arrived to the spirit phenomena, also has its base on the perispirit. But the perispirit also is a kind of a living archive, and all the images and memories are recorded. So in our perispirit, we don't remember today about our past lives, but in our perispirit, all the memories of our past life is there, right? Kardec says that when we die and we return to the spiritual realm, we can remind our past lives because it is there on our perispirit. When we are in our physical body, we have a kind of a constraint that does not allow us to remember those past lives. And the spiritualism also explain why. It's not the issue today. But when, for example, Denis said, some people are plunged into a state of somnambulism, then they are able to reproduce actions dating either from their early youth, let's say when they were 2 or 3 years old, or even relive scenes from their previous lives. So, because all these memories are recorded in our perispirit. So that is the importance of this intermediary body that we have, right? And that is always with us, even when incarnate or even when they're discarnate. And then the perispirit, the higher, the more elevated is the soul or the spirit, the more purer is this fluidic body or perispirit. That's what Denis is saying here. So depending on the condition of our mind, he says, we create our good or evil, or joys or pains, right? So, and this perispirit it reflects the state of our mind, whether dark or radiant, he says, depending on if you are an inferior soul or an high level soul. So which would, in that case, we would have a radiant perispirit. So that's what he's saying here. And you may ask about what is important about this, right? Because we cannot see the perispirit. Well, we cannot see the perispirit with our physical eyes, right? Like I said. But if we can disengage from our physical body, for example, when we are sleeping, for example, in that case, we disengage from our physical body. Our physical body remains there in the bed, sleeping, and then we go everywhere, right? So we go in search of what is of our interest with our perispirit. And then other souls in the same condition we can communicate with them. Either they are alive or either they are discarnate, right? Because we are in that situation that we are with our perispirit only, in a situation that we can interact with the spiritual realm. So that's the situation here. And then in that situation, we can see by the perispirit of the other person, let's say, how elevated he or she is, right? So, and then we get to this issue of a mediumship, right? The mediums they have an essential role, as Denis says here, in the study of the spiritual phenomena, because the medium is those kind of persons, men or women, actually most women than men, that can disengage, they have more easy to disengage themselves from their physical body. And as they have this easiness of disengaging from their physical body, they can get in contact with the spiritual realm. And then from this contact, they can teach us about what is they are living, let's say. They can talk to us about their communication with the spiritual realm. That's why they are mediums. Mediums means the intermediary between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, right? In that case, for example, I cannot see, for example, let's say that my grandmother is in the same room as I am with my colleague medium. So my colleague medium can see my grandmother, because it is, in this case, he can detach from this physical body and can see. And then he tells me, well, your grandmother is here. I cannot see, but I can know about through him. So that he's the medium, right? The medium for me to know about my grandmother. So, and why this happened? Because, as Denis says, participating in spiritual life through their perispirit, the medium's perispirit, and in the terrestrial life through their physical body, they are the intermediaries between the two worlds. So that's why Denis explained here, right? And why we need the mediums? Because the issue here is that the discarnate people cannot get in contact with us directly. So that's what Denis is saying here. Once separated from coarse matter by death, a spirit cannot manifest itself without the aid of an energy which it borrows from a living being. The living being is the medium, right? So this is what we are going to see on our presentation, along our presentation. So mediums have a important function, let's say, in this interaction between the two worlds. And mediumship presents many varieties, Denis says here, from the most common to the most sublime. For example, we have the physical effects of mediumship, which is generally used by spiritists of a vulgar order. So what is physical effects? It's something like displacements of objects without contact, for example, right? We have an object in some place, and then the objects go. We see as it is go along to another place. Well, what that happens, right? So that's what we are going to study. Apports. Apport is a situation when, for example, you are in a closed room, doors, windows, everything closed, and then inside that room, suddenly a flower, for example, appears in the room. So this is a kind of a transportation of objects, this phenomena, right? We are going to talk about this later. We have the wrappings, for example, right? Some wrappings, it's like someone touching the door, for example, but there is no one there, and you hear the noise, but there is no one who is doing that noise, right? So this is a situation that we have. Table turnings, which Kardec studied a lot, is a table which moves by itself, like it had a own life, right? Levitation, when we have, for example, a table that goes is put off the ground, so this is levitation, or could be a physical body, for example, of a living person, which goes in the air, for example, and materialization, which is in the situation when the spirit can materialize, and then we can touch, we can compliment him, we can touch you, and he also can touch us. So this is all this kind of a physical effects phenomena, right? And then we have the intellectual or intelligent effects phenomena or mediumship, which is, for example, writing, inspiration, and for example, we are going to talk later as incorporation, right? When the spirit talks about through the medium. So, and then in this case of intellectual, it relates more to the teaching of the higher order spirits. And then Denis says that mediumship involves many degrees of trance, right? So the medium rarely he's totally conscious, right? He goes into a kind of a trance, and that when this then he says in the waking state under the hidden influence, which means the spirit, right? This carnal spirit, the perispirity of the medium emerges and detach a little bit from its physical body. Then the medium can perceive things beyond the outward senses. It means beyond the physical eyes, the physical ears, and then he can see things from the spiritual realm. So this state, this situation explains the phenomena of clairvoyance, for example, or second sight, right? That situation that I said, the medium is seeing my grandmother and my deceased grandmother, which is here in the room. I cannot see because I'm only seeing with my physical eyes, but he can see in this situation, and then he tells me about my grandmother. So this is what is called second sight, right? And the spirit hearing also, the medium can also hear, right? Some spirit talking to him, for example, and we are together with him, and we hear nothing, we hear anything, right? He can hear because he's in this situation of a little bit disengaged from the physical body. Psychometry is a situation when you the medium grab an object of some person, let's say a disappeared person, and then he grabbed that object, and then he can get in contact with the person. So it was used in some cases to locate disappeared person. So we have some situation like this on the spiritism science phenomenon, right? And then at the higher levels of disengagement, then the medium reach that situation where I mentioned makes possible the incorporation, which is the psychophony. Psychophony is, in this situation, the discarnate spirit using the medium's body talking with us. In that situation, we can dialogue with the spirit. Let's say, in that same example that I said, my grandmother then incorporating the medium, my colleague medium. Then I can talk to my grandmother, right? Through the medium. As medium, of course, the medium is talking, but it's not the medium that is there. It's my grandmother, which is dialoguing with me, right? And I can identify herself by some situation that we lived in the past that my colleague, for example, doesn't know nothing about. So that then we have this kind of a phenomena, right? So, and then we have the important issue of educating the mediums, right? Because Denis said that we are constantly surrounded by a crowd of spirits, and most of them inferior spirits, less advanced spirits, because they died, but they were strongly connected to the material life, so they cannot go much far from the terrestrial life. So they remain here around us. And then when the medium is in the beginning, is this kind of a spirit that communicates through them. But then when they develop their faculty, highly evolved spirits can communicate through him. So that's why I study education of the medium. Moral education is very important because the more educated, the more morally evolved the medium, the more the highly evolved the spirits can communicate through him or her, right? And then Denis said that in this role of the mediums is very noble, right? Because we can help living human beings, to understand much better about the spiritual dimension, and then to have a broader view of the nature, because nature is not only what we can see, right? It's not only mountains, stars, bodies, animals. Nature involves this other side of life, which is the spiritual dimension. So that's the role of the medium, right? So that's he's saying here. We have also the laws of the spirit communication, but how we communicated with the spirits. So in this communication, what predominate is the law of attraction. And it's law of attraction because of through our thoughts, right? Our thoughts manifest themselves as vibrations. So if we have, for example, good thoughts, we have a kind of a vibration. If we have bad thoughts, we have another kind of a vibration. And that, depending on those kind of vibrations, we attracted similar vibrations from other beings. Other beings, I mean, either incarnate or discarnate, right? So this is the law of attraction, right? Similar vibrations attract themselves. So, and different vibration does not attract. So it means that if we are going to attract the highly evolved spirits, we must have high vibration, right? And the opposite, if we have bad thoughts, we have low vibrations, and then we attract less evolved spirits. So that's what Denis is saying here. And also, when a spirit is going to communicate with us, especially a highly evolved spirits, their vibration is very high. So they must reduce their vibrations in order to get in contact with us. And we, by our side, our vibration is still very low because we are not a highly evolved spirit, right? So by our thoughts, by elevating our thinking, then we can elevate our vibration. Then what is the spirit reduced, we elevate, and then we can get in contact. That is what Denis is saying here, right? And the condition of having this communication is favorable when not only the medium but the other members of the group that is there in a spiritist meeting, there they form a harmonious group when they think and vibrate in unison. In that case, we have a good intent in that meeting that favors, right, the communication of highly evolved spirits. Here, Denis is talking about the experimental conditions, right? So he says that when we are going to experiment was something that was done frequently at Denis' time, right? Because today we don't do it, this experimental condition anymore. Huh? But at that time, we had plenty of such experiments. And he says, when we get closer to study a phenomenon, a spiritual phenomenon, the extremes are not good, right? If we are too much skeptical, or if we are less, we have excessive credulity on what we see, right? So we must go into the middle way, he says. So we observe the phenomena, and using our reason, our good sense, our common sense, and then is the ideal situation, right? And then he says, large groups is not good for experiment to do experimentals, right? So small groups is better. And then he says that in the phenomena, there are three factors in action. One is the will of the experimenters. Because on the times, this experimenter usually was, for example, a scientist who are studying the spiritist phenomena. And the other factor is the medium, and he's exteriorized the forces from his fluidic body, and the members, the group members. And the third factor, of course, is the spirits, right? So the intervention of the spirits. So the three factors was involved in the experiments done at the Denis time. And then from the spirited phenomena that they studied, they subdivided into four classes. Typology, which is noises, someone knocking on the door, but there is nobody there. So knocking the door is kind of a typology. Table turning, the movement of material objects. Materialization, when the spirit appears to us. Automatic writing, when which is called psychography, when the medium writes some letter for some message from the spirits. And then incorporation, when the medium talks, the spirit talks through the medium, right? So these are the four classes that we are going to study more detail next month. And then about the group formation direction, so some recommendation from Denis here. He says that we must avoid the intrusion of evil spirits in the seances or the spiritist meeting. And how do we avoid the intrusion of inferior spirits? Is by our thoughts, right? So that's why he's saying here, we should not allow our thoughts to wander away, right? But fix them on a lofty purpose. So Kardec also says that, right? We must have a lofty purpose to study, right? Something good. So that's what he's saying here. And Denis also recommended to pray. That would help. So in this study, and he says also that some groups they take the special task not of evoking a lower order spirit, not a higher order spirit, but a lower order spirits. Why? Because when we evoke lower order spirits, spirits that are suffering, there are spirits that they died, for example, 1 month ago, and they still is not aware of their situation. They even doesn't know that they died. So in that case, these spirits are evoked, and then we support them. We talk to them. We recommend them to elevate their thoughts. So, and this is a kind of a commendable missions, Denis said, and this is something that is done today in our Spiritist center, right? We do now in this pandemic situation. We cannot do it because this is doing at the Spiritist house, right? But it's something that is done a lot today, and we do a lot of good, right, to these spirits who are lost, wandering, right, in everywhere. And then the group also must have a discipline. So in our Spirit Center today, we reunite, or the group members reunite in a work, for example, and there is a discipline, right? There is a group leader who must have a spirit guide that will assist by establishing order on the hidden plane. What Denis means by that? He means that if the group has a spirit guide, that spirit guide will avoid the evil spirits or inferior spirits to come and disturb the group meeting, right? So that's what he's saying. And also the group leader can unmask impostors, which means low order spirits. They can counsel backward spirits. They can oppose those who want to perturb the meeting, and also to provide an enlightened appreciation of the communication received, of course, from the high order spirits, right? So then we are going to close to conclude here. Denis talks about the moral applications and results of Spiritism. So what are the benefits of studying Spiritism, for example, or practicing Spiritism? Huh? First of all, he says that Spiritism open to science a completely unknown field of research, because Spiritists open all the spiritual dimension, the spiritual realm, to our research. Kardec started to make this research. Denis also did that, and many other authors also did that, right? And then, most important than the spiritualist phenomena itself, themselves, was the principles that Kardec mainly derived from that the observation from those phenomena. So then we have the Spiritism body of concepts, right? Principles, concepts, and that we can see in the Book of the Spirits, for example, right? So, and the Spiritism also tell us that our destiny, whether happy or unhappy, is the consequence of our own actions. Why we can see that? Because when, for example, Kardec was observing the Spiritist phenomenon, he could observe that someone, and that was told by themselves, right? A spirit that was suffering there on the spiritual realm, usually they did not good when they were incarnate here, right? And on the opposite side, the spirits that were happy on the spiritual realm after that, they were good here when they were incarnate. So that's that brings us a different perspective about life, right? Because depending on what we do today, at present, in our present incarnation, or how good or how bad we act here, we behave here, then the future on our spiritual dimension, the good or bad that we are going to face there is the consequence of the good of the bad that we do here. So that's what the Spiritism open, right, to our conscience, to our mind. And then because of that, Spiritism also broadens our notion of fraternity, because we know that we can help those who have less understanding about this broad view of life, and then also we are helped by those who are know more than us. So our circle of affection expands, because our circle of affection is not anymore just incarnate beings, right? Our family, our friends who are all alive, right? Our circle of affections extends to our friends and families, which are not is not already with us. Those who departed before us, and then Denis says, the love of our beloved ones, which departed before us, envelope us, comfort us, warm us. So, and then in that case, know that after death, there is life, right? It's spiritual life. And then the terrors of death cease to weigh on us. So that is one of the big results of the Spiritism, right? And last one here, then he said that the Spiritism is not only a source of instruction, yeah, it also becomes a means of moral training. Because what he's saying here is that Spiritism is not about it's not just about knowing about the spiritual realm. So now I know the spirits, I know the spiritual phenomena, how it happens, I know about mediumship. No, the spiritism also bring us a moral training. So it's not enough to know about, but we must be better persons, right? So that's what spiritism tell us. So that's why Denis means by moral training. So he says, through the teachings of a higher order spirits, we will acquire this precious knowledge of life, which is the mastery over our emotions, the control over oneself, or ourselves, the profound skills of self-observation, so the know thyself from the ancient Greeks, and the command over one's own blind impulses, because we have our blind impulses, like Freud in psychoanalysis showed us, right? And then by the Spirit to help us to command, to dominate all this field, which is very important to our progress. So that's what I had to do to talk about today about this book. That's very interesting book of the On the Knee, Into the Unseen. And then next month, on this 22nd of July, we will see the practical part, the second part. And then we go into detail on the spiritist phenomena. So thank you to be here with us. And I'm open here to any questions or observation.
Thank you, my friend. It was lovely to see how Leon Denis understood Kardec.
Right.
It's wonderful to see how this synchronization happened, and some people like better Leon Denis than Kardec because of the words, the way they explain.
Yeah.
Other people other one prefers Kardec, but the most important thing is they talk about the same thing.
Yeah, and people usually say, Stevan, that if Kardec failed in his mission, the backup was Leon Denis.
Leon Denis, I know. I know that story as well. But I think is one complement the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because Kardec had the ability to coordinate the work, and Leon Denis had the ability to transform that work into simple words, let's say like this. But so we have here good compliments here. Lev, our friend from Sweden, saying here, I'm so thankful we can listen again to fill in our notes taking to absorb even more. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you, Leah.
Yeah. Carlos Felipe, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed the lessons of today. I couldn't follow the whole live, but I will keep trying my best to do it in the following times. Thank you very much, Carlos.
Thank you.
Whenever you can, it's recorded in our YouTube page, Spiritism Ireland, Spiritist Society of Ireland, and also Spiritism Society of Ireland Facebook. So in both you have the record. So if you miss something, if you want to review some concepts, please feel free to go there and find out what you have missed. As Roberto mentioned, he will be here with us for the part two, which is the practical part.
Yeah.
This is the theoretical part, which is a key thing to understand the Spiritism. Why we have these three types, like soul, the spirit, the perispirit, the spirit, and the body. So how the interaction, why some people can see, why some people can hear, why you have the full package. No, listen, can hear, can see,
Yeah.
can transmit the
Can talk.
message. So but interesting thing is that like it is more common in women compared to men. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah, it's interesting because most of the mediums in our spiritual houses, centers, are women than men because I believe, Stevan, because women are more sensitive, right, than men.
probably, yeah,
Yeah. Then they are more. They have more easy. It's easier for them to disengage from their bodies, and
yes.
that's something interesting. There are great mediums, right? Chico Xavier is a great
Of
medium.
course, no one is better than the other.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to know that we have more uh, mediumship developing in women compared to men. So
Yeah, because we are men, we are more rational, right? So you see, Kardec was very rational, right? A rational person. So he didn't have any kind of
mediumship, yeah,
yeah, of a mediumship, right? So ostensive mediumship, right? Because
yeah,
medium we all are, but
yes,
and
yes,
the ostensive mediumship is as just some have, right? And women are more they have more sentiment, emotional, and that's more favorable to mediumship. So
yeah.
that was I can see by experience.
Yeah, yeah. So good to know. And once again, our time is up. So Roberto, once again, thank you very much. Thank you for the FESP to give us this opportunity. We have a very good relationship with FESP. FESP
Yeah,
is helping our group in Cork because they have all the meetings in Portuguese, and FESP giving all the necessary support for them. So this is priceless. Thank you very much to have such important and reliable institution backing up us.
all right, thank you.
So, and thank you for all your comments. Uh, Carlos Felipe here. He agree with Ton. That's totally true. Women are more intuitive.
Intuitive,
Yeah,
right? More intuitive, right? Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Linda, thank you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you, Don, as well. And I want to tell you this Sunday we do have our talk.
Mm.
Um, It's 11:15 a.m. Ireland time. I don't know who is in the hostess to give the talk, but I think it's me. I think it's me. I just something saying it's me.
So
Okay,
it's
for you guys, you have to listen me for another hour. So yeah, so in next week we'll be back on Tuesday, and in July Roberto will be back to give his second part.
Yeah.
Okay, Roberto, would you mind to do the final prayer for us?
Yeah, sure. I think today was a little bit long, the presentation, because the book is very thick, right? But
I know, but you did a well done job. So thank you.
okay. So let's prepare ourselves to close our meeting here today, and we want to thank all the benefactors that support us during this meeting. And we also let's elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus, asking him to continue to help us in our studies or practices of the Spiritism doctrine. And most of all, let's elevate our thoughts to God, the Father of life, thanking him for the gift of life, for this opportunity for us all to progress both intellectually and morally through the incarnations that we have and through this present incarnation. So thank you, everybody, and so be it.
Amen. Okay, my friends, I'll see you probably in a month,
Yeah.
more or less.
Yes.
I wish you a wonderful week. Stay safe. Hang on there, because we need you. A lot of people need you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you on Sunday or Tuesday. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.